The most significant instances of climate diplomacy can make headlines, and these may not always be successful examples. Probably the most well-known diplomacy efforts surround the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. The first real achievement was the Kyoto Protocol of COP3, which was the first agreement between nations to mandate country-by-country reductions in greenhouse gas emissions. But as the initial period of the protocol came to an end in 2012, it became increasingly clear that many parties would not renew their commitments. Therefore, there was a need for a successor, and this was pursued at COP15 in Copenhagen. However, in one of the most high-profile failures, negotiations broke down and no legally binding treaty was reached. World leaders met again at COP21, and this time parties adopted the landmark Paris Agreement. This famously included the intention to limit global warming to well below 2, preferably 1.5 degrees Celsius. Additionally, the Paris Agreement requires countries to provide improved national emissions pledges every 5 years, which fell on COP26 in Glasgow, meaning expectations were high. Much was achieved at COP26, including pledges on methane, deforestation, and financing. Yet the jury is still out on whether COP26 should be declared a success, with shade thrown by complications such as the terminology phased down rather than phasing out coal in the final agreement. Future COPs, such as COP27 in Egypt, will prove important in building on Glasgow. Diplomatic failures can take many forms: not reaching an agreement or reaching an unfair or unsustainable one, not capturing the highest ambition possible, and a lack of implementation. Perhaps reducing the number of players involved could help avoid some of these issues. Talks between Barack Obama and Xi Jinping resulted in ambitious targets that the US would cut its emissions 26 to 28% below 2005 levels by 2025, and that China would peak its carbon pollution by 2030. However, the longevity of this bilateral agreement could now be questioned. Finally, it should be noted that diplomacy covers all aspects of environmental policy, such as the Convention on Biological Diversity, which will meet in December 2022 in Montreal, Canada. This COP will set new biodiversity targets for the next 10 years, previous versions of which have not been met, making rigorous implementation crucial. Given the current state of geopolitics, climate diplomacy may prove more difficult than ever. It is likely that a whole new style of diplomacy, one that suits powers new and old, will be needed.